So who are some guys, I know you've been diving into the draft prospects. Who are some guys that you think the Browns could target in round 2 and round 3?
Well, let's start with round 2. Pick 54. We talked about Roman Wilson earlier. We talked about the high-end athletic tools he has. That he was a guy who may be better in the pros than he was in college simply because, Michigan did throw a lot. 24.1 pass attempts a game, which is 12 fewest in the FBS last season. Great speed, tough. And he was also a pretty good player in big games. Last 3 playoff games, 231 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, so he can rise up to the occasion. But he's not a guy that necessarily going to win after the catch. But there's not. But when you look at guys who have top end tools like Roman Wilson, guys who can take the top off of defense are always highly coveted. And he's another guy, like Braden Fisk, who has momentum coming into, the combine. Another receiver I like, we'll go the group of 5 round, Malachi Corley from Western Kentucky. He's got an interesting build for receiver, 215 pounds. There's a lot of Debo Samuel comparisons. I don't know if he's going to be as good as Debo, but when you have that kind of build and play the way that Malachi Corley does, you're naturally going to get those Debo comparisons. He's really good at getting those yards after the catch. Had 79 catches, although 28 did come from screens. He's a guy that I think can play a little bit now because he's a guy you simply get the ball to and let him work. He's bigger than most corners. He's at 215 pounds again, good size there. He's going to have to work on, becoming a more disciplined route runner, more attention to detail, some of the similar things we saw with Cedric Tillman coming out of Tennessee last year. Then also at 54, this is one of my man crushes in this draft, T'Vondre Sweat from Texas. 366 pounds, and he carries it really well. Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year last season. Watching his highlights, if you were to tell me that a guy that fast is 362 pounds, that I would not believe it. But that's what he is. Especially when you watch him get off the ground to bad passes. I think he jumped in the air about 3 or 4 times to bat down passes. Guys who are that big shouldn't be that quick off their feet, but T'Vondre Sweat is. And the other thing I like specifically on his film, his swim move is tremendous. He's really good at just swimming through defenders, creating havoc in the middle of the defense. I think with Sweat, you have concerns that are similar to other guys who are of his size. Can he stay on the field for all 3 downs? What's his conditioning like? I know he can play well at 362. I see him and I see what he could be at 350. I think he could be even better at 350 than at 366, but that's my own opinion.
All right, 3rd round, you have another defensive tackle or interior defensive guy, Michael Hall from Ohio State. What do you like about him?
Well, obviously, I'm sure a lot of Clevelanders, they always love the Buckeyes. They always love a local product, Streetsboro alum. He's a very young prospect. He's not going to turn 21 until June. But what is interesting about him, weighing in 290 pounds on the combine, which is good. I think he played about 280, so he's putting on a little weight. And I think he's a guy who will do that more and more as he gets older. He's a quick defensive tackle. He's able to, get that penetration, kind of those, penetrating type defensive tackles. And a common trend, watching these D tackles, he's got a great motor. All these top defensive tackles, they have outstanding motors. They just keep going till the whistle blows. That's exactly what you want to see out of a defensive tackle. Hall's got, some good power. He's able to shed blocks. What he's going to have to do, I think, to continue to get better is work on his hands, ability to get off blocks with hands and those sorts of different things. But the natural tools he has are very exciting.
All right, another guy is Cooper Beebe, and then we've also talked about Audric Estime. We talked about him a little bit. So those are other guys in the 3rd round range?
Yes, I would start with Cooper Beebe. I keep thinking guard's got to be a bigger need because, you have to start thinking about the future of the guard position. You have Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller. Those guys have obviously been really good for this team for a long time, but you have to consider the future. And I really love watching Cooper Beebe. He's big guard, 335 pounds, The analytics love this guy. Each of his last 3 seasons, a PFF grade of 80 or better. He's a physical blocker in the run game. With the Browns, the way they want to run the football, we've seen how many pancake blocks Wyatt Teller's historically gotten. No reason Cooper Beebe can't do the same thing. But what I really love is against the pass, he reads what's going on so well. Stunts and twists, he understands where they're coming from, and he does a great job picking those up. And we all know quarterbacks hate pressure up the middle. And when you have a guard who's able to do that at a high level, That's really impressive, and that's what stood out to me about Cooper Beebe. Not a long wingspan, but so many other tools and enough mobility to make up for that. With Audric Estime, we already kind of talked about, David Montgomery-esque type of player, 127 pounds, 1,300 plus yards, 18 TDs. The thing I mentioned a little bit, I want to touch on a little bit also, explosive run rate, which is usually a pretty good indication of the type of back, the quality back you could be in the NFL. By my math, of his 210 carries, 10.5% of them went for 15 plus yards. If you're telling me that one of every 10 times a guy's going to get the ball, he's going to rip out 15 plus yards, I mean, any NFL coach would sign up for that in a hurry with Audric Estime.